in einem Jagdflughafen an der Kanalküste. Die Jagdmaschinen werden zum Start klargemacht. MG-Munition wird gegurtet. Das Leitwerk reicht für die Siegesliste bald nicht mehr aus. Einbau der Filmkamera. Das ist Pet, der Staffelbär. Und hier die Staffelhunde. Flugsicherungsposten an der Küste. Briten fliegen ein. Meldung an die Jagdstaffel. In wenigen Minuten brausen die Jäger ab. Schon sind die Engländer gepackt. Die ersten Treffer. Im Tiefflug versuchen die Briten zu entkommen.
In World War II, it seemed that all countries at war entered in a fierce competition to create heavier, faster, and more agile military aircraft. World War II aircraft, especially those using jet engines, were quite different from the ones that had been flown before. Even by today's general aviation standards, these airplanes' performances are impressive. American World War II planes weren't seen in combat at the beginning of the conflict. 2 years after the outbreak of World War II, the USA declared war to the Axis powers after the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese aviation on December 7, 1941. During these 2 years, though, the country of the White Brothers manufactured and sold tons of material, including airplane engines and parts, to the Allied forces, mainly Britain and Commonwealth countries like Australia, Canada, or New Zealand, which were all put in contribution as early as 1939. During World War II, Japan did not have 3 branches in its military. Rather, the Army and the Navy each had their own air service. Since they worked independently of each other, the Japanese Army and Navy created separate air forces suited to their specific needs. The Army built Japanese aircraft and trained to fight the Russians over land, and Navy prepared to fight Britons and the USA on the open seas. What was very strange about the Japanese military's separate branches was they almost acted like competitors towards each other, keeping their aircraft designs secret from one another. A classic example of this overarching problem was the superiority of the Navy's Zero to the Army's Hayabusa. Had the Navy been willing to share the Zero and the Army willing to accept the helping hand, Japan might have scrapped the Hayabusa altogether. Simple economies of scale would have meant a much greater number of battle-ready fighters for the Japanese war effort. Furthermore, neither air service developed a heavy bomber on par with those of Britain or the United States until they finally cooperated in 1944 on the massive 6-engine Fugaku. This collision was too little, too late, however, as the Fugaku never made it to service. Aviation aided many battles, like D-Day, Hitler's dream of Nazi domination. Overlord was the largest air, land, and sea operation undertaken before or since June 6, 1944. The landing included over 5,000 ships, 11,000 airplanes, and over 150,000 servicemen. After years of meticulous planning and seemingly endless training for the Allied forces, it all came down to this. The boat ramp goes down, then jump, swim, run, and crawl to the cliffs. Many of the first young men, most not yet 20 years old, entered the surf carrying 80 pounds of equipment. They faced over 200 yards of beach before reaching the first natural feature offering any protection. Blanketed by small arms fire and bracketed by artillery, they found themselves in hell. When it was over, the Allied forces had suffered nearly 10,000 casualties. More than 4,000 were dead. Yet somehow, due to planning and preparation, and due to the valor, fidelity, and sacrifice of the Allied forces, Fortress Europe had been breached.